Happy New Year, everyone. As you can see, I have the sawmill back at home. We're into January now. Typically, it gets pretty cold, and I don't do much sawing during January and February, so I took advantage of this time to bring the sawmill home, and I'm going to do some cleaning on it and some minor adjustments. I have a revision I want to do on my lift motor here. It's not that this lift motor hasn't been working, I just am not completely happy with it. It just doesn't have enough torque. So I'm going to take you inside and I'll show you the new motor that I've got. So this is the new lift motor for the sawmill. What it came out of was an electronic wheelchair. So this was the wheel hub. So there was two motors, one on each side. So this is 12 or 24 volts. At 24 volts, it should put out, according to these stickers, about 180 RPM. My plan is going to be utilizing this hub, and I have a second hub that I punch the studs out of. So I'm going to make my own kind of universal coupler. What I'm going to do next is I need to make a new insert for this that is the same diameter as the jack shaft on the sawmill. So I'm going to be boring this hole out, inserting a new piece of steel, and then welding it in. The work on the lathe went well. I took a 1-inch piece of steel, made a plug. I bored this hole out exactly to 1 inch, pressed in this piece of steel. I have it beveled fairly nicely on both sides so that I have room to lay a weld bead in there, and then I can grind that back flat. After I remove the old lift motor on the sawmill, I'll get the exact measurement of the jack shaft. I believe it was 5/8, but before I drill the hole, I'm going to double check. I'll bring you back when we get to that part. I've been sitting here staring at these motors. I'm trying to work through a little bit of a problem that I have. The way these hubs are attached are just like this. There's a screw with a washer that holds it on. There's also a keyway that keeps it, from spinning on the shaft. With my new setup that I'm going to have to bore the hole through, it's not going to fit all the way down. So I need it to not have that screw. So I need it to look like this. Have a couple different ideas. I need some way of retaining this hub from coming off. One solution would be to try drilling a hole straight through into the shaft. Put a set screw in there. That would do it. I also am contemplating drilling holes vertically, in the same plane as the keyway. Split the difference between the shaft and the outer hub, drill a hole right on the seam, and then put a set screw in. That would also retain it. So I'm going to sleep on that, and I will see what I come up with. Alright, I've done some thinking on it, and for this application, I don't think there's any reason for me to go with the drill and tap this method due to the fact that I have a nice keyway already in it. So the rotational force isn't going to be there. It's just the force of it coming off this way, which there should be virtually zero. So I'm just going to drill and tap a 1/4-20 hole, hopefully be able to drill through this shaft and put a set screw in it. My setup wasn't ideal, but it got it done. So I have my number 7 drill bit hole in, and I just tapped it with the 1/4-20 tap. Now I can I'll probably just run a cap-headed screw in there so it goes all the way in rather than using one of these set screws. So I'm going to see if I have one of them, and I'll get this locked up together. Trim my set screw down a little bit. Going to put a little Loctite on it and run it in. and this part should be done. All right, this is a close-up look of what I'm trying to figure out. I have the jack shaft here that runs from the motor through 2 pulley blocks here. This is how I adjust my tension on this short chain between the small gear and the large gear. I can loosen these up, slack my chain. What I need to do is, since the new motor spins a lot slower but higher torque, I need to flip-flop these gears. So I'll have 40 tooth over here and 10 over there, so I'll have a 4-to-1 gear ratio. So it's going to be pretty tight. As you can see, this is pretty small motor. I'm trying to figure out now how I'm going to mount the new motor, but I think I'm just going to need to bite the bullet and start taking some stuff apart, get these gears flipped around, and then I'll have a little better idea of what I have for clearances. I have the jack shaft reassembled. I had some trouble. It turns out the piece of scrap that I chose to machine for this center section happened to be stainless steel, which normally isn't a problem. When I welded it, it heated it up, and I think it might have hardened it. Not 100% sure. Also, I was trying to drill the hole too fast. Once I got past a 1/4 inch bit size, it was smoking drill bits. It just was too hard to cut. I ended up turning the speed of the lathe down to just a fraction of what it was, and I was able to bore my 5/8 hole through. Then I was able to set it up just how it's sitting in the little drill press, and I drilled a hole clear through to the other side and put a roll pin in. So now my hub is locked to my shaft. The gear is keyed to the shaft, so everything should be good to go. And I'm going to bring it outside and put it back onto the sawmill. Alright, so far I am pretty darn pleased with the test results. As you can see, I just have it rigged up here with some temporary connections and a ratchet strap. It kind of wedged itself in, but I need to come up with some sort of mount. I have 2 options. I got through bolts here and I have threaded holes here. I have to come up with some sort of contraption that bolts on here somewhere, and I don't know, I haven't gotten that far yet, but I'm imagining something that will come up. Maybe I'll bolt into here, come up to a plate, and then maybe it'll bolt on the back side also here, so it's connected in 2 spots. Not 100% sure just yet. Maybe able to just get away with 1 piece on this side. I have to do a little bit of messing around. I will bring it back when we get that far, but so far I'm pleased. The speed is much faster than the old motor. It doesn't bind up, and it also doesn't trip the breaker. It tripped it one time, but I was kind of pushing it hard. I didn't really need to run it much past, 50%, whereas the other one I'd have to run at 100% to lift going up. So overall, success so far. Okay, here's an update. I mounted my piece that I fabricated in the basement to the actual motor. I have made up these 3/8 thick plates as spacer blocks. These are going to go behind the pillow block bearings because this gear right now is protruding out a tiny bit past this face. I need my plate to come up and then bend back and weld into that. Well, here's what I got for a setup. I have my plate up top. I have this plate here that I cut slots in, so I'll be able to slack my chain and tension once I drill and tap my bolt holes here. But for right now, I'm going to set the welder up and I'm going to just tack this up because this is a little bit at an angle. So I got it all set nice. I'll tack it and then I'll bring it in the garage and finish welding it out. All right, here's my bracket. I didn't go crazy with welding or grinding because it's all the way up here. Nobody's going to see it, so I'll show it to you now. Looks crappy, is what it is. Bracket is bolted on. As you can see, it comes over, kicks out, goes around the sprocket. I have clearance between the sprocket and that plate. Not a whole lot, but probably about a 1/4 inch. Our bracket is fastened, 2 bolts to the frame. I got it tight up top. I'm gonna turn it on and see if it moves. Hopefully it doesn't. Definitely going to call that a success. It seems to be holding the motor just fine. There's a little bit of wiggle room for any movement in the joint there. And I think it's ready to pop off, and I'll give it a coat of paint and reassemble. All right, this is going to wrap this project up. I'm very happy with the end result. I ended up painting the bracket yellow to match the rest of my accent pieces on the mill. As you can see, the motor's tucked up nice underneath the roof. It works a lot better. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to do a couple other little updates on the mill before I put it back into service, so keep posted for those videos in the future. Thanks.